It's this week's edition of Player Breakdown now, and this week I'll be breaking down the game of the one and only guest on this week's episode in Charlie Grant, what makes him a good player, and some things that I feel like Charlie may need to improve on as he progresses here in his hockey development. But he's eligible for the WHL draft coming up this year in 2022 when that draft happens. I'm not going to say if I think he'll get drafted or not, or where I think he'll get drafted within what rounds, but I will say this is a good player, a player that offers some offense to his team, of course. You look at the stats this year, even last year, like looking at it in 9 games last year with OHA's U15 varsity team. Charlie put up 11 points in 9 games played in that shortened season, 7 of them being goals. This season, in 20 games played, he's over a point per game, as I've mentioned in this episode so far. He's got 12 goals, 10 assists, 22 points in 20 games played. And, just looking at Charlie, what I've noticed that I like in his game is his shot, his position out there, and he's got pretty good speed as a skater. So let's get into it on this week's edition of Player Breakdown, the 6th ever edition of the segment, featuring Charlie Grant, forward for the OHA Penticton U15 Prep team. Number 13 is the number he wears, as mentioned so many times in this interview before. But just loading up the clips of the highlights I have here for Charlie. Gonna stop and pause as always and break it down on this week's edition of Player Breakdown. So starting off with it here, you're gonna see this is just a good combination of Charlie's awareness on the ice, his ability to get to the right places to score, and his ability to shoot that puck as well. So looking at here, Charlie wearing number 13, gonna end up coming in here. He's going to stay high, and he notices that all these players on the opposing team are going to go down low, leaving him wide open in the high slot here. Charlie's going to go towards the middle of the ice, get ready to one-time this puck, and he does just that, putting it top corner, top glove side. And that's the thing, Charlie, good on the one-timers, an accurate shooter as well, as you guys just saw there. Pairing that with his good positioning, gets into the right places to score, notices the weakness in the defensive coverage there for the opposing team. All those things result in good things for Charlie there, and he ends up putting a goal in for his team. Looking at this next clip here, it's going to start in the defensive zone. Charlie here is going to be the player at the top of this face-off circle. Not in the best position in here, but it's going to be okay in this play because the puck's going to go up the boards. Charlie realizes that the defenseman is going to pinch. He's going to commit. Charlie notices that there's 4 players on the other team in the offensive zone. Not much support back for that team that he's going against. He's going to make one move to chip it past this player, which he does, chips it to a teammate. Gets to a teammate and finds the open ice and waits out this goaltender here. And you'll look at it here, playing it back. And it's just Charlie being a patient shooter. Charlie recognizing that he has a bunch of open ice to go to, ends up receiving this pass here in open ice. Has a bunch of open room to burn and go in. And watch here, the goaltender at the top of his crease playing aggressive as Charlie waits him out. The goaltender backs up slightly. It's a slight, you notice it slightly, but it makes all the difference here with Charlie waiting him out. The goaltender backs up just a bit, opens up some space for Charlie to have an easier shot here in that top corner on the glove side as that side is exposed. And then he puts it top shelf for a goal for his team in that game. Nice celebration there from Charlie as well. Now you're going to look at it this play here. Charlie here gets good position on this defenseman, doesn't go to the right side, stays on the left side of Charlie's left side, doesn't go on the right side, but stays on Charlie's left side, the right side of the defenseman to receive this pass. Doesn't end up getting that in the net, but then his team recovers it, and Charlie ends up getting a step on the defenseman ends up getting good position on him, and he puts it into the back of the net for a goal. Now, looking at this play here, it's something that, Charlie ends up getting a goal on this play, but you're going to see here, looks like the team plays a 1-2-2 on the forecheck, and Charlie acting as a high guy right here. He ends up going down low here. Something that I wish Charlie would have done better on this play is he ends up going behind the goal line, but I would have liked to see him come in for more support here to possibly create a turnover and get it into his team's possession. But Charlie doesn't do that. He stays a bit patient, stays a bit passive on the forecheck, which is something he just needs to learn with time to be able to do this right, on the forecheck, reading the plays. But Charlie is step behind this guy, the player on the other team, able to get this up the boards. It ends up getting turned over because of that good structure by that high guy that should have been acting as the high guy, and he did. I think Charlie should have acted as the forward two on that play and went in on the forecheck to better support his teammate there. But, it is what it is. Ends up getting to the point, and then Charlie does a good job going to the slot, position himself there, and just a great release from Charlie there, putting it off the post and in. It might have not been off the post, but putting in a nice one-timer here. And looking at it here, it's going to start in the D zone for this OHA Penticton U15 Prep team. And you're going to see Charlie is going to be the one busting out of the zone with speed. Ends up building up his speed, gets the puck, and look at Charlie go here. Not the smoothest stride in the world, but an effective fast stride. Definitely something that Charlie's going to want to work on, is smoothing out that stride as time goes along. But like he said, that's something that he's working on improving this year. Ends up burning the defenseman with good speed, and, he's got good straight line speed as a player. That's what I noticed in this clip, and ends up getting a goal for his team. And, of course, celebrating with his teammates after that goes in the back of the net. Now, looking at it on the power play here, Charlie is going to play the spot. He's going to be in the spot on this left face-off circle where he's going to end up one-time this puck later on in the play. But Charlie here ends up getting the puck, ends up noticing that there's absolutely no one high up in the zone here to cover this player that he's going to pass to. His point man passes it back. This player ends up going towards the middle of the ice, winds up for the shot. These players commit to him, opening up the space for Charlie even more to get this pass back, which he ends up getting, and just a good one-timer there from Charlie, putting it in the back of the net, and his team getting a goal. So, to break it down, once again, Charlie, the things I've liked from him, I think that he's an accurate shooter, a patient shooter, has a good one-timer, as you guys saw. His positioning, gets himself into the right places to score, gets good positioning on the defenseman. He's got good straight line speed. Of course, has to, smoothen out that stride a bit, but that'll come with time. I think that he's a fast player already, so the smoother his stride gets, the better it's going to be for him, and being more effective, being more balanced out there, and being able to do so much more with his skating abilities out there as time goes along. And another thing that I feel like Charlie could improve on is just being more aggressive on the forecheck, not being as hesitant to, go in and support his teammates, instead of being in a position where he might not be as effective, as you guys saw in that play where he ended up getting a goal. Just could have been more aggressive, more effective on that forecheck from the jump. But, Charlie, he's been having a productive season so far. Does he get drafted to the WHL? Well, time will tell. I think if he continues his production that he's been having this season, yeah, WHL teams could give him a shot. He's got good tools in his toolbox already to be an effective player if he continues to develop. It just might come with time for Charlie Grant, but a good player already with some good tools in his toolbox in terms of his skill set. So